Where it never rains. I'm Parimal. I'm the producer and host of a new program called Earth is Our Witness. Earth is Our Witness is where we invite inspired photographers and artists from all around the world in a way to inspire us all to show stories of interconnectedness, stories that matter, stories that have a purpose. And with that, we have another exciting guest from Mexico City. Before I introduce our guest artist today and the topic, I do want to take a minute to welcome you all and also to welcome my good friend and pal, Art Wolfe. Art, welcome.
Hi, Parimal. How are you?
I'm doing great. Are you ready for today?
I'm looking forward to Patricio's presentation. Patricio and I have known each other for, I think, at least 15 or 20 years. It could be longer than that. But I'm always excited to see Patricio's handsome face and to hear his profound words and see his great art.
With that, let me introduce our guest today, Patricio Robles Gil. He lives in Mexico City. He is here with us today. Patricio, thank you for joining us. It's going to be a treat for all of us today, a big inspiration, because today's story is called Extinction Rituals. And it's episode 1. We're going to bring back Patricio again for episode 2 and 3, because it's a really, really thought-provoking body of work. The words I'm going to use to describe the body of work today that we're going to see is called his artistic protest, not process, artistic protest. And the reason for that is, I don't know how many of us know that today, our planet Earth is in its 6th mass extinction of wildlife. We have lost in the last 40 years a huge population, about 50% of the wildlife population, including, the white rhino as well. And how do we deal with that? How do we deal with that loss of habitat and wildlife? And the very species that made us human essentially is suffering at our expense. And that's why it's a protest. It's also called Extinction Rituals, because rituals is a way for how Patricio and many of us deal with the loss. With that introduction, again, a big round of applause and welcome with tequila and perhaps whiskey to our good friend in Mexico City, Patricio Robles Gil. Patricio, welcome.
Parimal, Art, it's a great honor for me to be here with you and with your audience. I really thank you, and let's start.
Let's start. Cheers. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Sounds like you both are tequila fans and you have the same glass.
The best tequila I've ever had was in the home of Patricio. He has this really old chest and it's filled with beautiful bottles, but that's another story. Let's get on with Patricio's incredible art.
Great. With that, I'm going to start presenting. Hopefully you can all see my screen. Patricio, go for it.
Well, I would like to start. Why do I call this body of work that has been the last 10 years of my life working on this work? There are photographs, there are sculptures and installations. And Extinction Rituals, it's about how are we going to cope with the loss of animals, the loss of biodiversity. The rituals are designed, are created for that reason. Rituals help us to understand, to cope with those issues, but also help us to heal the losses. The first piece, or the first work I'm going to present, is called Bloody Elephant. You all know that African elephants are being slaughtered for their ivory. I knew elephants in the wild since I was very, very young. I went to Africa when I was 16 years old. That was 1970, as a hunter. I knew then my life changed through the years, and I became a conservationist. And in the 30s, 1990, something, I created 2 conservation groups and I started work with conservation. Then I came back to Africa as a photographer. And I knew at that time that elephants and other animals, when they are shot, when these mafias are killing for the ivory, they kill complete families. And when they wound an animal in the lungs, the animals start to bleed through the noses. Here you will see a photograph of mine, a close-up in black and white. Is the next image. That
Parimal, you control it. There you go.
Yeah.
You can see the texture of the elephants. Elephants use their trunks to bath themselves with dirt, with water, with sand, to avoid the heat, to avoid flies, etc. But imagine when these elephants are slaughtered, are killed, and they are wounded in the lungs. I look in my work to provoke through art a certain feeling that you're not okay with it, but at the same time should be very attractive, very beautiful. So what I did, the next image, you will see how I took a large print of that image and I started to throw blood or paint as the elephant was painting himself. The final image, after throwing a lot of that paint, is a very powerful one, in my opinion. Of course, this is inspired by a very famous American painter, Jason Pollock. So this Beautiful. Is the photograph. Right now I'm having an exhibition in a gallery, and this print, this image, this work of art is there.
Beautiful. Very powerful.
Very powerful, very powerful. I love this image. Even the black and white and the red. It's just so interesting and powerful. Patricio, question: what made you pick a black and white image for the background?
Well, I wanted to be very, very not simple. Black and white are more easy to read. And also in Pollock's images, there's nothing behind. It's just the painting that he drops from a stick, and that's all. In this case, very, very few people see the elephant at the first glance, at the first moment.
May I interject too? Remember the great movie Schindler's List? It was a film about the Jews and Nazi Germany, but it was filmed in black and white except for a red dress. And that red just popped out from that very monochromatic movie. And I think that if there had been color in the elephant, the browns of the elephant, I think that contrast of red would be far less effective. I love and you can just see that Patricio is not just a photographer, but just throwing paint in this way with all those eloquent curves and movement shows his background as well as an artist. And so the combination of a graphic abstract shot of the elephant, and then you've got this beautiful lines of the red, but also the power of that being dripped blood, I think becomes very evocative.
I remember very well, Art, that movie, and it was a little girl that appeared far in the screen in different scenes. At the end, she appears in a kill in a group of people. It
Beautiful.
was powerful.
Is there a, Patricio, I noticed that around the eye, the paint is deliberately less density so that the eye comes through and it's almost looking at us. Is that intentional?
Yes, that was intentional because I just love the eyelashes, how were full of mud, and it was very, very, it was intentional, but at the same time, not that, it's not that, you don't control that much when you're spreading the paint like that.
One final question from the audience. And before we move to the next topic, what was the emotion, if you had to capture in one word, that you had in mind? And now that it's in the gallery, how do you know that it's working? What is the emotion we hear from the audience when they see this?
Well, the audience, it's very seductive, it's provocative, and I think they think about the elephant doing this. It's known that the elephants can paint with a brush a canvas. So that was another reason why I did it.
Very interesting. Thank you, Patricio. Thank you. Beautiful work. Should we proceed to the next body of work?
Please, please. Peletería la zorra, that's Spanish. It means the furrier, the fox. Let's go to the next one. We don't see these images when we buy a fur, a coat made of the skin, the furs of animals. But thinking about this, and I have talked with a lot of my colleagues about how cruel is, and you know how worldwide has been many organizations are against the using of furs. Can we go to the next image, please? Well, in this case, I have admired an English painter, an English artist called Banksy. Banksy. The thing here, this guy, what he does, his goal against the establishment, he goes against capitalism. Nobody knows him because what he does, he do art street or street in the art in the streets, but he do graffiti in the walls of Bristol in England or London, and he also have come to United States to do this paintings in the walls. As you can see, he's very provocative. The pigeons that you're looking, and the swallows come from Africa as migrants, and he's taking this issue about the migration of people. But one of the things I like about Banksy, can we go to the next? That the public, there's already tours around Bristol and England to go and see all the Banksy painting. Nobody knows, as I said, who he is. He just do it in the streets without no one notice. But it's the interaction between the public and the paintings. Here, a woman, a model, I don't know if she's a nurse, she's thanking for the bouquet of flowers he's giving to her. So with this idea, I start to think how I can relate this way of express this language with nature, with what nature is facing right now. So if we go to the next one, I knew that the only way I can get a real animal next to a wall will be in a zoo. So this is the night enclosure of a tiger. And what I did the painting on the wall and light the face of the tiger the moment he was looking at the key. Going further, we can go to the next one. In a wall that nobody knew, I decided to create a place where they skin animals. In this case, a jaguar. It was a furrier trade shop, we'll say. So I got a photo of a jaguar jumping. I put it the head down. So I kind of make a pattern, cut with scissors and painted with a spray on that wall and create like a little door where you could see someone that is skinning the jaguar. And I also put the sign that is in Spanish, but it's something like that. Furrier the fox or foxy, we skin wild cats and other nocturnal wild beasts. The fieras is a word in Spanish that it doesn't have much translation into English, but are actually animals that are kind of fierce, that it will have some kind of ferocity. The final image, sorry.
No, I think if you're going to the final image, which in this screen, this image is the one on the far right that's obscured by our own images. Is that not true?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So
but the final, I decide to, a friend of mine lend me that coat. It's made of jaguars. It was bought long time ago to her mother, for her mother from his parent. She already died, so he lent me the coat. I put her there, and I did the photograph.
Really powerful. You know, I think that what's amazing about that, and you're familiar with the Human Canvas project that I did, and I definitely was inspired by Jackson Pollock and Keith Haring and all these different artists, as you are inspired by Banksy, but you carry it forward and you make a Banksy-like image, but you also blend it with the photograph, and that's the evolution of culture. You know, nobody creates something original. Even Banksy would be inspired by earlier street artists. And so you're a perfect example, Patricio, of somebody that got inspired, but carried it into your own realm and your own, combining your art with your photos in creating something different.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. It's very powerful. I'm going to read a comment, and I have a question for the audience, and then I do have a couple of questions to you, Patricio. Audience reaction, just reading out one from Caroline Mars Whitehead. I see tremendous sadness. The eye is closed. The end is final. This was about Bloody Elephant. I didn't want to forget that. Just going back to Bloody Elephant, so well put. And then her response or reaction on this particular one. Oh, my heart just dropped. So powerful. With that, I do want to ask the audience, what do you feel about this image and also about Bloody Elephant? And I can read out a few comments. It's important to get a response from you all. And then, Patricio, question to you. Obviously, you know that I put those 3 red dots to hide her privates, because with social media, we have to have, there are certain rules that we have to follow, but the original work is she's in the nude. What's the reason why you chose to keep the model in the nude?
Well, there are many reasons. One, I did a lot of body painting prior this work, and I did work a lot with nudes, male or female. But in this case, she represents this industry of sex, and I want to really to provoke how it's much beautiful, the body of a human body that doesn't need to use the skin of other animals. I think this was a series. There were many photographs, and some were not nude. We chose this one for that reason.
The other question I have is, there is a certain sadness in her eyes as well. Is that intentional? The expression that she's sharing?
Well, I don't think that she's like that. She's not a person that is sad, but in that image, she was looking at me with that expression.
Yeah, I can't imagine another expression being as effective. Even a slight smile would have sent a really strange message. Yeah. So I think her expression absolutely is perfect for this piece of art.
There is a theme to your protest when you say it's not a process, it's your artistic protest. And it's almost that we as human beings, we like to use things as long as we can look the other way, as long as we don't see the real cost of it, whether it's slicing open a jaguar for fur on the body, or whether it's killing a wild animal for trophy shot, because we don't see, we like to pretend it doesn't happen. But you have this really powerful way of forcing that knowledge, so you can't escape it. You have to confront it. It's so powerful.
Well, thank you. It's many years of being in the field, seeing wild animals die, and seeing what's happening worldwide is what took me to this kind of language. I'm still looking. I'm still trying to find ways to provoke and to seduce. I don't know.
Yeah. One final question before we go to the third and the final piece, which is really interesting. I'm looking forward to that one. Is you mentioned to me, Patricio, for how this image and this work changed the fashion industry in Mexico. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Again, Parimal, can you tell me or ask the question?
Yeah, I'll slow down. You mentioned that because of this work, there was some positive change in the fashion industry in Mexico against the use of fur.
Okay.
Can you tell us?
It's not because of this work. It's because the organizations that go against our animal rights are pushing so hard that there are many corporations, fashion corporations, that are saying that they are fur-free. And the more you look or you Google, Dior and many others are not using anymore wild animals to dress their customers.
Thank you. Should we go to the next one?
Yes, please. Let's go to the last one. This is Cursing the Poachers. Can we go to the next one? And this is about the rhinos. You could say that they are about the megafauna of the world. I don't know how many of you know that 2 years ago, the white rhino, the northern white rhino, went extinct. The last male that was in captivity in a zoological park in the Czech Republic, the last years they sent it to Kenya. His name was Sudan. He died 2 years ago. There are two females, the daughter and the granddaughter, but they are not fertile. So that subspecies of the white rhino is already gone. The story of the white rhino that only lives in South Africa right now is a very positive one. I remember that they went as low as 70 individuals, and a man that I knew, Ian Player, helped the population, and right now there's around 27,000. It's really, really a success story. The problem is the poachers. The poachers kill these animals for the horn. The horn is sold in the Asian markets, mostly China and Vietnam, for the traditional medicine, and also to make artifacts or sculptures is a sign of wealth in those Asian countries. Here are the graphic of how the numbers of poaching rhinos rose in this decade, and is going down a little bit. But in Kruger National Park, that is in South Africa, from 10,000 rhinos in the last 10 years went to 4,000 rhinos. So thinking again, I'm always looking ways to tell stories, to provoke, to capture the soul of the people that watch my work. So can we go to the next one?
I just want to call out the one that you mentioned, Sudan. I think there was a National Geographic cover story on that a while back, maybe 6 months back, I believe, by Amy Vitale, a natural photographer. Very powerful story, and a set of images before, I believe, Sudan passed away.
Yeah, and, you're right. And also Joel Saltore took the photograph on his tremendous work that he's doing, that is called Photo Archive, that he took the photograph of Sudan when he was in the Czech Republic.
Just the other thing, sometimes we gloss over statistics and graphs, but just to think about this and put this in perspective, 15 years back, 36 rhinos were being poached. 36. 15 years back was, my son born, not too long ago. And today, it's every year is 1,000 plus. It's just staggering and sad.
Greed is one of the problems. Well, what I did is I asked the zoological park here in Mexico City. I knew they had a skull of a rhino that died in the zoo, and we did. I asked if they could lend me the skull. They said yes, but you have to do it. The mold here in the zoological park. So my founder went to the zoological park and did the mold, and we did a cast in bronze. Can you go to the next one? In bronze, real size, and that's the image on the left, and the image on the right is how the final work is done already with the green patina. And then I wanted to do something strong, so I decided to curse the poachers. And in Africa, in the Congo, in the Central Africa, there's a tradition that to curse thieves, to curse evil, to curse the criminals. Can we go to the next one? And here you will see a series of figures of sculptures made of wood This is late 19th centuries, beginning of last century or 20th century. And each nail is a curse that a person or a tribe do to the thief or to the evil that is harming the society or the person. Mm-hmm. And I read that nail gives terror to the thieves, because if the thief doesn't give back what he stole, he will die in a year. So what I did is, okay, let's curse the poachers with thoughts of colleagues, friends, writers, photographers, artists, conservationists. Let's ask them to write in a small paper a thought cursing the poachers, and put these thoughts. You will see now right now there are like 70 different people that have intervened or participate in this sculpture, and put it inside of an empty shell, a cartridge of high-powered cartridge, put the thought and drill a hole in the skull and put the cartridge. So here are some examples of friends and colleagues that have helped me of producing this piece.
I'm going to read out a few, if that's okay, Patricio. I'll read out slowly because they are really, really powerful. And I know primarily we on Earth is a Witness show photographs and the stories. This is so powerful that I just want to read out because the thoughts matter. First one from Dr. Jane Goodall. A rhino has as much right to life as the man who murders him or her. Jack Dykinga. A curse upon the destroyers. They kill themselves when they kill the white rhinos. My friend Daniel Beltra lives in Seattle. I'm going to read. I curse the greed and stupidity causing many species to go extinct. I curse the poverty that leads many to poach. I curse our collective indifference, our blindness to other species' suffering. Ultimately, we are cursing ourselves into extinction. Franz Lanting and Christine Ekstrom. Very powerful again. We are the poachers, all of us, living on this wondrous planet we call Earth. We must not forgive ourselves for what we have done. We must do everything in our power to change the outcome. The rhino is our Earth. Our friend Tom Mengelson. Just spoke to him. Tom, if you're watching, love you very much, and thanks for this. I'm going to read out the last paragraph. The entire curse is also on our Instagram and also on the website. Instagram, Earth is a Witness. From Tom. For those who are responsible for the rhino's demise, the ignorant, the greedy Chinese buyers, the mafia, the corrupt politicians, the soulless and the heartless poachers who shoot, hack, and chainsaw the still living creatures, face and horns off. May there be a special place in hell reserved for them. And then from our one and only Art Wolfe. Art, this one is for you. May the poachers be poached and kingpins be brought down. Nature is undone assault by the greed of bad souls. Now is the time to fight the good fight and to protect what's left. Art Wolfe.
And the final work is not finished. It's about, as I mentioned, 70 thoughts already. I assumed that we will have double that when they are finished. Just think that that horn of the rhino doesn't have any kind of medicine value, doesn't help for anything. They make it powder and they think it will arouse for sexual intercourse, but doesn't happen. And the horn is like our fingernails. It's just compressed hair. It's really pathetic. I hope really that this provokes in the souls of many people in the world to take care and look more for what we are doing to the planet.
I just wanted to sit for a while, what I read and what everyone wrote, such powerful words and such honesty and such crying out for loud help. Art, if I could maybe get a reaction from you. I know you were one of the legendary photographers who contributed. What was your take when you were approached by Patricio?
Well, my take is that Patricio is one of the few photographers that really has bridged the art world and followed in the great lines of provocative art that is intended to spur debate, to open eyes and open minds. It's a noble effort, and it's very artistic effort, very provocative, of course. And, people have this concept of Mexico. And when I've been to Mexico, the thing that I take away is the great tradition of art and design. The books that Patricio has been involved in exhibit such a fine taste of every element of what a book should be. And this comes as no surprise that as he has evolved as an artist and a spokesperson for the environment and conservation, that it would lead to this hybrid between photos and bronzes and paintings. And he's on a journey, and I'm so proud to be part of that.
Thank you very much, Art. It means a lot to me.
You're more than welcome, Patricio.
Patricio, I believe this installation, it's still work in progress. Someday people can travel, and if they make it to Mexico City, they can see it in person in the Patricia Conde Gallery. Is that right?
Well, the exhibit that is called Extinction Rituals have been already 2 months. The next Saturday, the 20th of February, will be the last day. I have a little studio where all this work, more than 50 pieces, will go there and will hang the walls of this studio. I do have a proposition from a philanthropist, a friend, a very close friend, that he's looking for a house to put his office, a small office, but he wants to leave all the first floor to have my work, and so people can go and see it.
It's lovely.
Really nice.
I'm just going to volunteer if anyone tuning in either now or watching the replays has any curses, would love to hear that. And I will be happy to pass this on to you, Patricio, for you to use any way you want.
Please.
Let me stop sharing and maybe just enter a bit of a Q&A. I do have some questions. Art, any questions for Patricio? I have a few. I'm going to see the audience has a few, but I want to give you an opportunity as well.
So Patricio, you will rejoin us at a later date with more of this work, I hope. We just saw 3 pieces. And when I talked to you on the phone a couple of months ago, my favorite piece was the lady that was painted like a skull. Was that part of this overall work, or was that a different body of work?
It is part of that work. The print is quite huge. And it's a two-phase work. To explain, well, the public, the viewers can see several videos, already 9 videos in the website that was at the end of this talk. The extinctionrituals.com is the website. And it's about gold mining, that skull you saw. Later, back in the early days, the mining of gold, you will get huge pieces of gold when you make a tunnel or use the pans to take from the rivers the gold. Right now, the mining companies make huge holes in the ground. You can see it from long distance in the space, these holes that these mining companies. And they use all that dirt, all that rock, and they dissolve the rock to take away the little tiny pieces of gold with cyanide. The problem is that when they take that material full of cyanide, they leave it outside for the rain to wash away to the aquifers. And it was against a mining company down in Baja Peninsula, where you have hurricanes and you have earthquakes. And there are many, many people in La Paz, this town in Baja California Sur, that have already cancer. So it was about this. So one side, you see this skull painted in the face of this woman. And on the other side, you see the same face with the eyes closed. And there are 12,000 little skulls that mean for every 2 rings, wedding rings of gold, is the amount of cyanide you use to kill that amount of people.
We need to have Patricio back with that piece of artwork so people can appreciate it. But you know, it's pretty interesting, Parimal, how deep and conceptual Patricio goes. He's not just creating a piece of artwork that people look at. There's such deep meaning and history and connectivity behind his work. And it's a real honor to have him on Earth is Our Witness to tell the story behind the image.
Thank you. Let's end with one question that I'm going to ask to both of you, starting with you, Art, and then with you, Patricio. Seeing this work and having witnessed so many similar things in our lifetime, Art, for you as well, what is the one message you would have for us all? That's something we can act on that makes a difference.
Well, you know, people get really excited about environment and causes, and they often get dejected because they can't travel halfway around the world to get this image of a rhino, or, basically they don't have the economic means. They've got the excitement to do it, and they're all excited to do. And I often say that it could start with something in your own neighborhood, that it could be something that you and your neighbors decide you're going to clean up, something small, as something that you are making the mental step forward and feeling good about what you're doing. And it's like a brick in a wall that has to be constructed. And so Patricio is very high-minded, very deep thinking, and has traveled the world, as have I. Many of the books I've worked on, of course, will have an environmental slant, as Tom Mangelson and many of all of the people that we saw tonight. But for the person that doesn't have that physical or monetary means to travel, it can start in a very small way in your own neighborhood.
Thank you.
Well, I have been criticized first because I show beauty in my images and I didn't show what's going on with nature. And now I'm criticized because I don't show, or I don't bring hope for the future of nature and humankind. I will say that for years I did make an alliance with science, and science is so powerful, so important to make decisions, but it's very cold. Numbers, we don't connect with numbers. We connect more with our soul, with our heart. And art, to work with art, it's a very powerful tool to change, to do pieces of work and like this protest. And my message will be that we need to get the attention of people through art, through the work we do. And sorry to say, but it's time that this hope that we're looking for has a very strong basis of reality.
Thank you. I'm just going to read a few comments and end on that note, because people are really enjoying and are moved by tonight's episode. I'm stricken over and over with the heartless murders of Earth's creatures. Profound sadness fills me viewing these images. Change begins with us. Thank you for your provocative art. There are few in Mexican, so I don't know the language, so I won't know how to even pronounce it. Thank you for sharing beautiful art, powerful, profound, and needed, unfortunately needed. I think it's very well said. Very inspiring, would love to see more. We are going to have you back, Patricio, you won't even have a choice. One answer on what we can all do from Dolores: start with knowing what you consume. I think it's a very good and a very practical point. Just knowing what we consume, what we wear, what we eat, where it's coming from. There's things we can do right now. And then thank you for the truth, for waking our soul, for opening our eyes, and to attempting to make our hearts beat to the drum of nature. Patricio, you are Earth's witness, is the comment. And it's such a beautiful comment. Thank you so much.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you. I enjoy it very much.
Good.
Thank you.
I will see you down in Mexico City within the next year or two. Okay, I promise that.
Me too.
You are welcome.
Me too. And we have a plan. We have a plan that we have a